According to the prominent academic journal Science, fake news spreads on average 6 times faster than true news. So you're thinking this justifies the Malaysian government's proposal to draft laws to combat fake news. Yeah, about that. Civil society groups and media practitioners warn that the new laws could lead to additional restrictions on genuine news organizations and their reporting. Which begs the question, is the government even in the position to determine what is and isn't fake news?
Masalah kemulut air di Selangor lebih kritikal.
The Collins Dictionary, which shows fake news as its word of the year for 2017, defines fake news as false, often sensational, information disseminated under the guise of news. Wait, didn't then US President-elect Donald Trump coin the term fake news during the 2016 US presidential election campaign?
You are fake news.
Not quite. The term existed before Trump, but no one used it quite like him on that level and scale. He often used it to discredit potentially damaging reports about him. This includes news reports from genuine and even award-winning mainstream media organizations in the US. And it didn't take long until Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak picked up on the term too.
And I like to use the term now, fake news lately.
Unfortunately, when the government's opponents spread fake news, some people believe them.
So we can't stress it enough on how mindful we need to be on how the term is used, because it's just thrown around these days. And that's only the term. Only time will tell what the actual laws would be like. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why we have senior investigative journalist R. Nadiswaran and lawyer Michelle Ng to discuss the issue of fake news and the government's proposal for laws to combat fake news. Nadiswaran, Michelle, thank you for joining us. When you hear the term fake news, that is, what comes to mind?
I do not know. This thing is an invention, creation of Donald Trump during his campaign period. So anything that he did not like, he termed it fake news. So this has caught on with everybody in town, sorry, the whole world over. Fake news, fake news, fake news. When in fact in Malaysia, the biggest spreader of fake news is the government itself. No, I don't see any reason for any new law on fake news, because Section 332 of the Multimedia Act provides for punishment, and this has happened in the Sessions Court in Kuala Lumpur on the 9th of March, where 2 people were fined 2,000 each, right, for putting something out on Facebook. Now, if you can use the existing laws, why is the rush to get new laws or promulgate new laws? I do not understand. On March the 8th, Azalina Osman announced that she will be presenting the first draft to the cabinet in 2 weeks. My question is, why is the rush? Where's the consultation with the people? Right? Right, have we got input from all stakeholders? That very important is people like me and you and many other journalists are going to become victims of this. And if we cannot have a say in when these laws are being promulgated, then you're depriving us of our input and everything else.
Michelle, Nadis brought up an interesting point about the Communications and Multimedia Act, I believe you could, I think Section 233. So is there an actual need for new laws?
My personal view, of course, no. In fact, I think even Section 233 in itself has been a subject of very strong criticism because of the way it is very broadly worded. If I recall off the top of my head, it actually talks about not just false news, it also talks about obscene or menacing information, to which till today the legal fraternity is still trying to grapple with what these actually mean. But over and above all that, we also have another law in the Printing, Press and Publications Act, Section 8A, that regulates, traditional media, and it also similarly criminalizes false news. So on that score, if we want to, on top of that, have another law that says probably almost the same thing, and mind you, it's not civil sanctions, these are criminal sanctions. You can be fined and it's a record. Why is there a need for fake news? And on top of that, I just read that Singapore is thinking of such a law as well, but unlike Malaysia, where I think probably just a few months ago it was announced that the government was contemplating it, Singapore is actually recognizing that this is a complex problem to which they are inviting, I think, about 140 members of the public and stakeholders to have their input.
So here's what I'm worried about, how the word is used to discredit proper online media. Here's Saleh in another clip. Notice how he describes online media.
So online media ni kita tidak boleh elak ya. Awal-awal saya katakan pagi-pagi bangun tengok handphone. So kalau itu di tangan kita, of course we are addicted to online media, whether you like it or not. Dan kita masalahnya kita percaya ya, kita percaya sebab kita seronok dengan ini. Kita biasanya kalau gosip, kalau benda yang tidak betul, kita seronok.
I think I got to address the first issue here. He says people still continue to believe online news and everything else. But if you're given the freedom, the print media or the electronic media, TV stations, to tell the truth, why should I rely on something written on Facebook or Twitter or something like that? You have driven the entire population, because of your so-called control of the media, you have driven us to other sources of income, other sources of news. So the thing starts with the government. If they can free the press of controls and everything else, then we will see something different. I want to tell you something. A few words are taboo in newspapers, in Malaysian newspapers. 1MDB, Jolau, exclamation, kleptocracy, all taboo. You can't use it in any part of the newspaper. So if you come to that stage, right, what do you expect the people to do? So I rely on social media to get my info.
Is this in a way an attack on social media or online media? Because
no, I don't believe it's an attack on it. But the point is that more and more people are trusting the online media than the print newspapers or TV stations. Right? So this is where the problem lies. All because you start to censor and control. You have actually forced the people to go to online media.
I think whether or not this would be the intention of the new bill, of course we don't know, because till today we have not seen the draft bill. Azalina has said that she wants to form a bipartisan committee.
That's true.
Yesterday we inquired of it. Till today we have not heard of anything at all, and it is likely that the bill will be tabled in this parliamentary sitting. So that's that. But we know that our ministers are representative of government and what the cabinet thinks, and if that is it, I am quite concerned, because I would think instead of talking about how you're addicted to online media and then you believe it, I think it would have been better placed for the minister to use the opportunity to educate the people he was addressing by saying, look, what you read might not be true, even though it might be sensational. Why don't we take a step back with everything that we read to analyze whether it is true or not? And I think it goes back to your point, because to me, the way we tackle fake news is to provide more information and not to restrict it. So I'm actually very, very concerned with what Minister Saleh Kurrat has said.
So thus you're saying if the Malaysian media landscape was more open, this would not be an issue?
This will never be an issue. I will read the news Red Times or the Star or the Sun to get my news, and I'll tune on to the 8 o'clock news. But these days you tune on to 8 o'clock news on TV3, there's 20 minutes of opposition bashing. Right? And it's one-sided, you don't get the other side. Don't you think they're treating us like idiots? Don't we have some brains to decide for ourselves? This is the problem. No longer can we be treated as idiots. They must realize that. I can't take what he says, Saleh said Kurrat, as a gospel truth. He's saying all kinds of things. Now, coming back to this issue about government spreading false news. The government said there's no link between Jolo and 1MDB. The IGP himself said it. Yesterday, Tony Paul came out and brought the evidence on involvement of Gold Star, 1MDB, and Jolo. Jolo controls 1MDB, Gold Star. So you come out with lies like this to the public. Do you expect me to believe you?
I think it goes beyond the Printing Presses Act as well, because there are acts like OSA that sort of stop information from getting out there. So there is a hunger out there to sort of know more.
I think in most countries, the OSA is only used, it involves the security of the state, purchase of arms and defense thing. Only in this country, everything is covered under the OSA. So when you have this, when leaks come out, of course everybody will love to read this. You know the kind of material they find online now. All those letters and everything else are online. So coming back to this thing about what the MCCO said, I don't think anyone wants to deliberately spread fake news. Not any journalist worth his salt will never do it. And the editors will have go thoroughly through it and have all the evidence in hand before allowing it for publication. Under these circumstances, why you go after everybody as a whole instead of being specific and using the existing laws and pick up those who have offended? Now, the important thing to say is, if they go after the offenders, a lot of government servants are in trouble.
Society is plagued with a lot of laws that, to me, is very draconian and has a very huge chilling effect on what we then choose to say or not say. There is this lingering fear that what I do might be caught under one of the acts. The Sedition Act is one of them. OSA, it even restricts information from coming out in the first place. And even if I have the information, I'll be thinking twice or thrice before I decide to do anything with it. And we see opposition leaders being called in, being charged. Rafizi Ramli is one of them. Wong Shu-chi as well in the Johor State Assembly, she was called in as well. And when you have all these things happening around you with the way the laws are working towards, it appears, a certain agenda, you start being concerned with the object and the use of these laws. I think what Saleh Kora actually mentioned about online media, I'm not sure whether he intends for it to cover alternative media which have gone online and can't afford to print hard press. Does that involve Malaysia Kini, for example? Does that involve the Malaysian Insight? And he talks about going online to read news and how it is sensationalized. But similarly, at the same time, News Straits Times have gone online as well. The Star has gone online. So what exactly are we concerned with? If you're talking about access, we all have access to both sides of the divide. And I think we are quite capable, Malaysians are very capable of coming to a conclusion themselves.
That is true. Let's take a look at what MCMC has said about this law. According to Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC CEO Mazlan Ismail, Putrajaya's proposed new law against fake news is part of its efforts to safeguard national interests. He said this was contrary to claims by certain opposition leaders that the proposed law would protect the interests of certain individuals ahead of the forthcoming 14th general election. He said fake news is like a time bomb that could explode at any time. Not only in Malaysia, fake news is being shared around the world, and it is a threat. Harapan chairperson Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said earlier this month that the Putrajaya's proposal for a new law against fake news was good, but he was also wary that it may be a guise to censor stories about the 1MDB scandal linked to Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak. So you've got them saying interesting things, to safeguard national interests and that it's a time bomb. What do you view of these words being used to make it seem like, you know, it's a threat?
I'm wondering whether, you see, the MCMC was set up as a body to regulate social media, online media. I wonder whether that comment is reflective of what they are unable to do and would therefore need to be empowered by additional laws. I understand that with social media, things are disseminated very quickly, but I would think that with competency, if you really do want to combat it, you would be able to. Now, throwing in that line about Dr. Mahathir and how he thinks fake news a fake news law is good. I think that's quite by the by, because I suppose where he was coming from is this: the opposition is a subject of fake news as well.
Yeah, it's true.
We get attacked all the time. You go to almost any opposition member's Facebook page, they will probably have one or two posts about how they are alleged to have said certain things or disseminated certain news.
Yeah.
Henayo is one of them.
Recently, the dinner with the pig photoshopped in Mukris.
Yes,
yeah,
Mukris and Mat Sabu
Yeah.
as well, with the Photoshop pig on their table. There is also that problem. But unlike the government, the opposition is staunchly against fake news. Why? Because of the way our existing laws have been used, and the fact that we have existing laws already. The CMA, the Communications and Multimedia Act, was actually used against this man in Johor, 76-year-old man in Johor, for disseminating something over WhatsApp about the Prime Minister, which apparently was unsavory. That is how far-reaching our existing laws can be. And with that in mind, the question then is, why is there a need for a new law?
Michelle, I've got a very interesting question. The Economist ran a story calling Najib Razak a thief.
Yeah.
Now, if I run a publication, and if I repeat that word, the Economist has called Najib a thief, what consequences do I face? I'm only merely repeating what somebody else says. Now, you have this a fake news thing. They're going to ban us even from reading other newspapers.
To the answer, the legal position is that it really boils down to jurisdiction. The Economist is not in Malaysia. When you republish alleged fake news in Malaysia, unfortunately, our laws would reach into you, it would capture you. So that is what it is now.
Recently, we have the Prime Minister saying in Parliament even that, you know, the water issue in Selangor is more critical. Is that not fake news?
Go ahead. You see, when Azalina first came up with the proposal of a fake news law, I actually thought about it, and to me at that point, in my own room thinking about it, look, I felt that the bearer of the truth would be the only person that will be able to determine whether news is true or fake. However, since then I've had conversations with people, and then I realized that the bearer of truth himself might be interested in ensuring that the truth doesn't get out. And that is where the additional concern lies of how this fake news law will be used.
Right.
Because if I know what is the truth, I can... what you're probably saying is right, but I'm going to say that it's fake because I have an interest to make sure that you don't know the truth. That is my concern.
I'll give you a hypothetical situation,
Okay.
which I've used in Kuala Lumpur, next Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, KD. Suppose there's this politician who is anti-gay, LGBT. By night, he transforms into one of them, and I publish it. Now, do I have to prove he's gay, or does he have to prove he's not gay? I'm innocent until proven guilty. So how are you going to prove that you're straight? And don't forget, you're subject to cross-examination. Will he come forward or she come forward? These are things that go on a journalist's mind, right? When you write something, okay, what are the consequences and everything else? So the CMA is already there, and most of us are aware of this. Yet the new law comes in, it's not going to make any difference. Only thing is more opposition members are going to get caught.
So you feel that there is currently a level playing field in terms of...
Has there been a level playing field in this country?
That is true.
Yeah.
I definitely think not, as it is. The fact that we have alternative media in itself already signals to us what us as citizens have to do. We have to take matters into our own hands and try to do something about it. Because if we were going to rely on the government of the day or the authorities that be, we would be left with, the media before TMI, the media before Kini, the media before Malaysian Insight, you know. So that in itself tells me no, that playing field is not level, and then with an additional law, of course it tips even further to the other side. Yeah.
So recently the government launched a website called sebenarnya.my. I'm sure you've heard of it. In March 2017, Communications and Multimedia Minister Saleh Said Kerwak said the government launched a website to help the public detect fake news. It's called sebenarnya.my and it's supposed to be the go-to site to know what's fake or not.
Kita tidak verify mana-mana maklumat. Dan lepas itu kadang-kala kita akan viral di grup yang lain seperti kita kata dari grup sebelah minta pencerahan. Sedangkan sepatutnya kalau kita ada maklumat sedemikian kita harus rujuk kesahihannya dahulu. Jadi dengan adanya portal ini maka saya harap ia dapat digunakan sepenuhnya. Kita akan hebatkan kewujudan portal ini di seluruh negara dan ia bukan semestinya berita-berita politik semata-mata yang melibatkan berita-berita yang ada kaitan dengan sama ada dengan keluarga kita, sama ada dengan individu ataupun isu-isu yang lain. Jadi itulah harapan saya dengan kewujudannya portal ini.
So that's great because there's a lot of stuff being posted online about 1MDB, Jolo and the equanimity. So let's look for some answers. First, 1MDB. What can we find on 1MDB? Alright, so this is what I found on 1MDB. It's basically not something that you're actually looking for. What about Jolo or the equanimity? I'm sure there's a lot of stuff on that. Alright, so what will you find if you typed in Jolo on sebenarnya.my? Oh, okay, so this is what you find. Basically nothing. Okay, maybe Jolo's not there. What about the equanimity? I mean, the Indonesian authorities with the FBI just seized it. It was a massive news story. So a lot of people see that online and they want to find out if that is true. Will they find answers here? Let's look for equanimity. Gotta make sure I spelled that right, and I did. And this is what you find if you search equanimity on sebenarnya.my, which is a site that's run by MCMC, which is supposed to be the place you go to find out if things are true or not. So if it's not there, how are people supposed to know?
The seizure of the yacht
Yeah.
made news in 47 countries, except Malaysia. It speaks volumes. Happening in a neighborhood Indonesia, it involves a Malaysian, and yet you don't get to read it. Right? So what choice have you got? So you go and read online news portals. Now, look at this. Not even a single result for Jolo. Now he has been in the news now for a good 5 years. Now this is what drives people to believe in online news. Nothing else. I don't trust this website. I would never get into the website.
There is nothing there to trust.
No, there's nothing. You earn my trust by being honest and truthful.
If there's nothing to rebut on sebenarnya.my or 1MDB, Jolo and equanimity, does that mean that everything else that we read about it is then true? Because that is the function of that website, isn't it?
Yeah.
If there is something false out there, I come here to find out the truth. So does that mean that what I read out there is not false?
Because I think the MCMC wanted this to be a platform where people can check. We've heard so far random ministers saying, look, it's not true, GLO is not connected. So why is it, if the government doesn't do it like centrally, then why is it looking at for fault when people actually go and look for other sources online?
I think that hits the nail on the head exactly because, of course, being a government portal, it has an agenda. It serves the government of the day. You can't deny that. And I don't really see the need for it anyway when you have ministers going around talking about equanimity being unconnected to Jolo, that we have no reason to seize the yacht because it is not government property. Why is there an additional need to create a specific web portal to deal with these kind of things? Perhaps what Nande says is quite true. Maybe there are pockets to fill.
No, the thing is this. You do a poll in your own office and see how many people have gone to the website. You did it because of work purposes.
Yes, that's true, yeah.
Otherwise, would you have gone into the website? You can't trust the government websites. If the IGP can say, right, Jolo is not linked, he's the #1 police officer and trying to get away with it, what else is left for ordinary mortals like us?
What I do advocate is for more information to be out there. By information, I mean facts. So documents, government documents that I can access, maps, statistics, so on and so forth. What we have online from the statistics department is, to be very frank, so much room for improvement compared to what we have overseas. With that information, I do think that Malaysians are quite capable of coming to their own conclusions from there. Not what is crafted by certain people from that information allow us to access the hard facts themselves and allow us to come to our own conclusions.
I think there's a void as well. It's not only, I think, news stories, but also just transparency in general.
Exactly, yeah.
About how much information that comes out from the government. So should they be focusing on being more transparent instead of going after...
See, this is what, I will give you an example. I was working in London, out of London for 2 years. And I sent a letter to the Home Office asking for the number of Malaysian prisoners in UK. And I got an immediate reply. We are required to give you a reply within 14 days. If you don't, we'll write to you again.
Okay.
Within 4 days, I got a reply. That's what it is all about. Here you write that your letter is going to be in some goddamn file somewhere, a steel cupboard, right? So that is the problem we have. If anybody goes, basic things we can't get answers, right? So how are you going to ask for more complex issues like this? I'm not likely to get.
Earlier we spoke about possible alternatives and there's no need for actual new laws. So let's take... The Asia Internet Coalition, AIC, says it shares Putrajaya's goal in addressing misinformation on the internet, but believes it is best addressed through collaboration rather than legislation that attempts to control information. Discerning whether the information is true or false can be highly subjective and risk compromising access to information and legitimate exchange of ideas. AIC said false information is a highly complex issue and is best addressed through solutions developed collaboratively with the news industry and government. AIC recently briefed Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Azalina Othman Said, on efforts undertaken by internet companies to prevent the spread of misinformation. This was amid plans by Putrajaya to introduce new legislation to address the issue of fake news. The AIC said it's prepared to work together with the government to provide feedback on Putrajaya's proposed legislation. So what are the alternatives?
Do you think they listen to anyone?
But that's the thing though, why aren't they? These are people...
You see, their mind has been set. We got to put this... Now, if you don't have that mindset, okay, why are you in a hurry to rush through this bill? Right? The basic requirement is, are they a consultation paper? Right? Or get feedback from the stakeholders. You don't get feedback from the stakeholders by talking to representatives of Facebook and Twitter and the like, right? You invite their representatives, and then there's another meeting. The DPM calls senior editors and owners of these people. Now, where are you as a journalist represented? Who's looking after our interests? They're happily dining away with the minister, big deal for them, right? But the point to note is this. Do they want to listen to the people who really do the work? Right? I've always maintained that I check and double check my facts before I'm sure published. And this is what I'm saying. People like us need more protection than the editors.
So, but we spoke earlier about the CMA 223. Is there a need to pursue something that's sort of already there?
I said there's no use because they've already convicted 2 people under existing laws. So why do you need a new law to go after fake news?
I think having said that, the existence of these laws is in one way to say that, look, there's no need for an additional law, but at the same time, I think we have to be clear in saying that we don't condone these laws. I don't condone these laws in the first place. I think it is too broadly drafted.
Yeah.
it can be used too onerously. From what I understand, these two people will fine 2,000 ringgit for alleged fake news, and I think that's too onerous for something that can be replaced with, for example, an apology or rebuttal by the person who is affected.
No, I agree
so
with you.
That is my position.
Well, earlier you talked about engaging with stakeholders. Here's what Saleh said about that recently.
Semua kita maklum bahawa pengurusi jawatankuasa tersebut ialah Datuk Seri Azalina lah. Dan sudah tentulah beliau akan bentangkan draft awalnya kepada jemaah menteri dalam mesyuarat kabinet, dan beliau akan engage seramai mungkin untuk menentukan agar apa nanti pun yang kita luluskan itu mendapat persetujuan semua pihak. Karena soal fake news ini bukan hanya merisaukan mereka daripada parti pemerintah, tapi juga mereka daripada parti pembangkang dan juga rakyat biasa.
The phrase used was seramai mungkin, as many people as possible.
Yeah.
When you sit with 4 reps of social media platforms and with 10 editors, is this seramai mungkin?
You're a prominent journalist. Have you been engaged in any way?
They called me to give input when they amended the Trade Descriptions Act, the Copyright Act. I was called in even before I did my lobby. I was so well versed in those 2 areas. I was given an opportunity to present what I knew. So this whole thing is, for me, it's shameful. Right? No government in right sense should resort to this kind of things. He says to Jemaah Menteri, but before you present Jemaah Menteri, shouldn't you take it from the shareholders?
I think exactly that's exactly that. We were just talking earlier, and I think there's a huge flaw in the consultation process.
Right.
I think that even before you engage with stakeholders, the bill should be ready. It should be disseminated to stakeholders. They should have an input on the wording, and it shouldn't be discussions up in the air about what should be in there and what should not be in there. It should already be something concrete that we can provide input for. And this is just not the right way of having a consultation to me.
You're saying there is already a flaw with the system because it goes to cabinet first, and then they just give you whatever that's left over.
You see, the cabinet should be the last person approving it. Right? You put the donkey first, so you can't do anything. Right? I would have expected a consultation paper. Right? Few of us can make copies and pass it around. The group will sit down over lunch. A few journalists, let's go line by line.
Yeah.
Right? At least what we are going to present. Right now, you don't have a choice. You present to the cabinet. That'll be Wednesday, I believe. 2 days later, it's going to be tabled in Parliament.
And it becomes law.
Yeah.
We're all subject to it.
Communications and Multimedia Minister Saleh Said Kuruak has called on all members of BN Youth Wings to become the coalition's cyber troopers to aggressively counter the opposition's allegations and curb the spread of fake news. Saleh was also Kota Belot BN chairperson, said cyber troopers have an important role to play in explaining to the people about any particular issue, so that they would not make a wrong decision when casting their votes in the forthcoming general election. Well then, let's look how these cyber troopers are actually explaining things to people. If you're expecting anything apart from name calling, you're going to be disappointed. Saleh said today's political landscape has changed tremendously as allegations and fake news were being spread through the use of smartphones and social media, compared with just through poison pen letters previously. The minister said if the BN Youth Cyber Troopers succeeded in explaining all issues and countering all allegations and fake news, public confidence in BN's capability would improve and the people would have no problem to give their mandate to the coalition in the coming general election. This begs another question. Is the combat against fake news just about the elections?
For him, fake news means opposition. Huh? What they did to Mat Sabu with a poke in front, don't you think they should have acted immediately and charged somebody? It's so easy to identify the culprit. But because it's Mat Sabu, no action. The guy who posted it made no, well, it was not fake news. So when you have this selective prosecution,
rise of Barisan National cyber troopers is a reaction to what actually happened in 2008, where the opposition fully utilized social media to disseminate election material. And with that, we saw the rise of regular people like you and me utilizing the same platform to speak what they think. And to be very honest, I feel quite sad for Saleh Kerouat that the Barisan Nasional has to resort to that. From what I understand, the conventions for BN cyber troopers are huge, and conventions like these don't come cheap. I'm told that they are trained as well, and for every opposition member, there's probably another 10 cyber troopers out there that are ready to launch at you whenever they're called, and I'm told that they earn quite a good living as well every month, probably drawing a salary about the same as ours. And for Barisan Nasional to resort to that, I think is quite sad. I don't think there should be even a need to do that. If you know you're the government of the day, and you should be able to provide your public more information in order for them to come to a reasonable conclusion. The fact that you have to hide it raises a lot of alarm bells for me. You shouldn't even have to do that.
I think earlier you said about 2008, about how Malaysians sort of went to social media to sort of, it appears to be a natural thing, because that was the only avenue they had.
Exactly.
Compared to having a communications and multimedia minister telling people, look, this is the only way we can counter them, is to get cyber troopers out there. People who are likely not qualified or not as well informed on issues that are being talked about right now, issues that are not even touched on the official, like the Sebenarnya.my. So
quite definitely there is a slant to what at least Saleh Kerouat has been doing and has been saying. There is a consistent pattern, which to me is quite worrying. Because the agenda doesn't seem to be providing an equal platform so that both sides of the divide can come to a reasonable conclusion based on the facts. I think there appears to be an intention to withhold facts and to provide a version of the truth, in open inverted commas, out there. And if that is the case, I'm quite worried. I'm very worried, in fact. I'm very worried. Not so much for people like you and me who probably would still be able to access information, but for people who can't. If their view of what is right and wrong or true or false is going to be tainted and to be formulated by someone else, what kind of country are we becoming, really?
That is?
No, the official stand is what I believe doesn't exist. We have never lost a single cent. How do you, they expect people to believe this, right? And it comes out from cabinet ministers, from the IGP. Are they taking us? Are they taking us to be fools or what? Right? They carry on doing it as if nothing has happened. I am very disappointed with a lot of cabinet members, right? For example, Mr. Paul Lau, Minister of Integrity, and he has not uttered a word. Right? My point is this: you are the Minister of Integrity, and I don't want to comment on this. How are you going to call yourself Minister of Integrity when all these things are happening right under your eyes? Right? There are so many other ministers, all keeping quiet. Right? Don't want to utter a word, scared of being thrown out as cabinet members. Right? I can't see one government MP who's standing up and saying something is wrong.
What would it be?
For my message, very simple. You open up the press and you will kill fake news.
I think I echo that exactly. And as to the fake news law, just don't do it. it's a bad idea, so stop when you can. But we know that it's going to happen, it's going to pass anyway. So yeah, I echo that. More information.
Why should anyone take the trouble to go and key in and everything else?
Yeah.
If I can get it in the morning, read it. Because people don't trust you. Newspapers sales and circulation has been dropping. Right? It's dropped so much because people don't believe in the newspapers. So the only way to overcome this, the newspaper should be happy, is stop controlling the editorial content and then let it go. Then people say, hey, this is published in the Sun now. Wow, the online news, they copy and paste only. Right? Yeah. You get some, the newspaper gets some credibility. Right? So this is what we need. The moment the reading public know it's a cut and paste job or something that does not appear in the online, only appeared in the print, people sit back and think, hey, these guys are okay lah. They're publishing something decent.
Yeah, exactly that.
All right, so we'll wrap up this session.
Okay.
I'd like to thank my guests, Michelle and Nadiswaran.
Yeah, thanks
Wouldn't
for
have
having
been possible
us.
without you two.
Right,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.